Hey there, welcome to the Church Digital Podcast. My name is Jeff, and we got a great episode set up for you. It's episode 22. We'll talk about who's coming up here in a little bit. It's my birthday week, and yeah, happy birthday to me. My birthday was actually August 18th, so the day yesterday from when the podcast released on Monday the 19th. And I'm excited. I'm 42. The gray in the beard's legit. I haven't had hair in 20 years. So yeah, 42 is looking a lot like 41 and a lot like 40. And a lot like my 30s, actually, come to think of it. But let's get back on topic. To celebrate my birthday, here's what I'm doing, listening audience. I'm giving away Starbucks. I love Starbucks, and you love Starbucks too. So follow me on Instagram. Instagram, my account is Deerfedge, DeerFFej. So deer like the animal, and then Jeff backwards, because my name's Jeff Reed. It's all backwards. Follow me. I'm giving away Starbucks gift cards this week on my Instagram account. If you want to get notified when it's coming, turn on notifications on Instagram. Take advantage of my graciousness all week of my birthday here, August 18th week. And this isn't the only way I'm celebrating my birthday, because it's my birthday and I get to do what I want, and I can cry if I want to, which I'm not. To celebrate my birthday, I'm bringing a special guest on here for this podcast. And this woman, honestly, is dear to my heart, maybe next to my wife and my daughter. I don't know that I love any woman any more than this. And before this gets any more awkward, let me tell you that we're bringing my mom on the podcast. So here's the deal. What does my mom have to do with Church Online? My mom's been leading multiple online small groups for almost 3 years now. A lot of it are people that she's recruited to join in, and my mom tells some phenomenal stories and has some phenomenal experiences about what it actually means to lead a small group online. And so us as churches, as we're wrestling with whether or not we should do this and what does it look like, and does it downplay the physical as well as the virtual, and how we're all complicating what's involved in actually doing discipleship online, people like my mother have just jumped in and have been discipling people for years. And I want to explore this. I want to share some stories. Want to see what online small groups looks like, what biblical community looks like, what cell groups, whatever the language is. What does it look like to get people together and study the Bible online? And ironically, the best expert I know to dive into this is my mother, who is past retirement age, who is going to tell some phenomenal stories. And so I want to present to you, ladies and gentlemen, Ray Armis, who's not my mother, but online pastor over at Christ Fellowship Miami, myself, of course, in the Church Digital, and my mother, Linda Reed, retiree, online small group leader. Here y'all go. I just want to put a disclaimer. I can't call this woman Linda for the entire length of this podcast. So listening audience.
Don't do it.
Yeah, no, it's not going to happen. You're going to have to be okay with me calling her mom, because mom's been mom for 42 years. And that is awesome. And
That's
so,
right.
I really just wanted to get a chance to sit down and talk with mom, who's been doing online small groups for 3 years. 3 years ago when I was at Christ Fellowship Miami, and just looking for somebody kind of crazy to buy into some concept of doing a small group online, and mom being, well, super supportive like she always is of me. Well, mom, how'd you get involved with doing an online small group? You tell the story.
Okay, well, I think you called me and asked me, would I host an online Bible study? And I said, well, who's going to be in the group? Number one was one of my first questions. How do I host one? And most important, do I know enough about technology to do something online as an elderly person? I won't say old, but elderly.
Nobody's saying old. Not one person has said old. Not even elderly. You're young for your age.
Okay, thank you.
Linda, you're proving that a lot of this is really even just a state of mind thing, even just by taking this jump, because, those questions right off the bat are what most people would approach us with. And so keep telling your story, because I think it's going to help lead a lot of people in that direction.
It's been easy and it's been wonderful. And a lot has happened, and God has been in it. You can see things that have happened, because I started with one small group on Sunday night at 8:00. Now I have two small groups. I have one on Sunday night and one on Monday night at 8:00. And as a leader, it's wonderful. I only have to study one, prepare. It's like a teacher in school. I only have to prepare one lesson, but I get the time and I get the privilege of sharing it twice.
So tell me about your particular studies. So you got some great questions. Who's going to join the group? That was your question 3 years ago. Who joined your group? Tell us some of what your online small groups look like.
Okay. On my Sunday night small group, I have the first person that actually joined my group is still with me 3 years later. And she started out living in, her family lives and went to West Kendall, but she went away to law school in Washington, D.C. and she joined, was my first person to join in my class out of Washington, D.C. She was a college graduate and she was just entered law school. And so she was there until just this last year. She now moved to San Antonio, and what's so great, it's been seamless. She's now in San Antonio, but she joins us every Sunday night. And we've just had a grand time. One of the other ladies in our Sunday night small group, she and I went to Washington, D.C. to visit Melissa, and we had a grand 2 days with her, went to the Bible Museum there, and we really got close as friends, even though really our relationship is centered online. And to me, one of the most important things about being online, it's the same as being face-to-face in a physical room. And it just opens up so much access to anybody who wants to be in a small group. And so for me, it's been wonderful. And we've had all kinds of experiences in our small group. I have one lady who has actually joined in on small group from the grocery store, believe it or not, on her cell phone because she didn't want to miss. That was interesting, but we've done that. We had pajama night one night because, you know, we're all online, we're all women, we all wore pajamas. We got up and showed our pajamas to each other. So, you know, we try to make it fun. And so this past year, we've been doing the study we've been going through the book of Matthew. And when Jesus was going to have the Lord's Supper, we were going to have communion on, you know, like you do online at church. But I couldn't bring myself to do it because I didn't feel like I should be leading in communion as a small group leader. But we talked about it. So anyway, we've had fun with that. We laugh, we cry together. It doesn't matter if you're in the same room or if you're online. You can have all those same feelings of connection and community and emotion together. We text each other during the week. We text each other recipes. You know, we stay connected during the week. We celebrate birthdays. You know, we do everything that you do in person, you could do online. It's wonderful.
So you're a something year old person. You're on the older side, retired, you know, grandkid, right. Loving, doting grandmother on my kids, which is awesome. Melissa's not. I mean, you mentioned she's on the younger
26.
side.
Melissa's 26. She's been an attorney now for 2 years.
Right. So you connected with her. It was yes. Graduate level work.
Yes.
When we first connected, and I remember that early conversation that I had where as online pastor, like as we were getting the connection cards and utilizing people that came in through the online campus, Melissa was one of those that reached out saying that she was looking for some form of biblical community, looking for a small group, looking to get connected. Right. And just transparently, Melissa was coming from like a law professional level. Right. My mom has former business and professional level on that side. And so it's like, hey, maybe I should put the two of these together. Maybe. And as I recall, like there were even others early on that I was like, let me try to help my mom start this small group that's maybe this young professional group that she could like mentor and develop and grow with. And
we've had some come and go. Melissa has stayed. One of the challenges, I think I'll jump ahead here a little bit because of what you just said about the small, the age difference. Some of the challenges have been some folks coming on for me as a leader. They'll come on, you're trying to connect, you're trying to build that relationship. And then after a month or two, they drop off. And you reach out to them because you want to find out, are they okay? What's happened? Just like you would if you were doing a in-home or at church, small group, want to know what's happened. And you don't want people to fall through the cracks. And one of the challenges has been getting them to respond back and share with you why they've moved on. It's okay. It's not for you. I understand that. But that's been the toughest thing for me, is to let some people go. And I'll give you an example. We had a young girl who was studying nursing at FIU. This is going back now 3 years ago. And she wanted to come on. She signed up to come on. She texted me back and forth, I'm coming on. I never could get her to come on. I sent her a book. I mailed, cards of encouragement to her and so forth. And then one day I got a text from her, a very long text, that she was in a situation where she had an unplanned pregnancy. And she evidently was raised in a Christian family. She knew what had happened was wrong. She was devastated. And I just kept trying to encourage her, that in every way I could. I just loved on her every way I could through the texting and through sending cards and books and stuff like that to her. And anyway, make a long story short, I didn't hear from her for about 1.5 years. And 1.5 years ago, and then just about 6 months ago, she friended me on Facebook out of nowhere. I was shocked. And we started up a relationship again. She had been in an abusive relationship. She had the baby. She's beautiful. I'm real good friends with her on Facebook now. We friend all the time. She's never come back onto the group, but she keeps promising me she wants to. And I keep reaching out to her. She keeps reaching out to me. And so I just found out that she now lives in Kendall. So I'm going to try to get together with her. So, I've tried over the last 2.5 years to minister to her and be there for her, even though she never actually showed up on a small group.
Yeah.
And she's a young girl, I know, and in need of a mentor or somebody to help her along the way. So that's been one experience. And then I have on my Monday night group, I actually reached out to a mother and daughter. And my mother and daughter is now Barbara Orr, who goes to Christ Fellowship Miami, and Chesley Orr, who lives in somewhere in Texas, some small town in Texas. She's now a dentist. And she's young like Melissa. And so it's been really great seeing a daughter and a mother that is in a Bible study together. And I've really enjoyed that. And I know that they have, because they both have reached out to me and told me that they're very excited to be in a Bible study with their mother or with their daughter.
That's encouraging, because that's pretty rare, isn't it? As far as getting that dynamic, a lot of folks feel uncomfortable, like, hey, opening up with mom there or with their daughter there.
Yeah. And I think it's easier for a mother and daughter to do it online than in person.
Well, let's unpack that, because with the two examples with the two studies, you're old, and you've got Melissa, who's younger, and so even like getting the two of you in a physical space, there's challenges if you were to do that physically. And so you've got two different examples of a mom and a daughter, an older retired versus a young professional that are building relationships virtually. Utilizing online tools. Why do you think that is?
I think that it's just a more comfortable situation, because you are, even though you're face to face, and but you're not in the same room, And it allows you to be who you are without the intimidation of mothers sitting right by you. You should understand that, Jeff.
I'm asking questions here.
But in my Sunday night group where I have a 26-year-old Melissa, I have a beautiful person, not young, but I don't think she's old. I haven't really asked her how old she is, but I'm going to guess she's somewhere between 40 and 50, younger than me. And she's a nurse in Orangeville, Ontario, Canada. And she has just been a delight. Always has a smile on her face, always has something to add, and truly has been a real inspiration to our group. And so the age range on that Sunday night group really goes from 26 to 72, and our Monday night group goes the same realm, 26 to 72. And so it's been fun. And believe me, we all share that. That was one thing I wanted to share with you guys that I think works so well is I dedicate an hour, and the first 15 minutes we fellowship. I mean, we really fellowship. We share our lives. We share what's going on that last week, what we're expecting to do this week, what's going on. The good, the bad, anything, we just open up and share. That's our first 15 minutes. Then we have an opening prayer, and then we do Bible study for 30 minutes. And then we close in 15 minutes we share prayer requests, and then we pray. We all pray, or one will pray, depends on what's going on and how many prayer requests we have that I either assign some to pray. And I have one lady that's in my Sunday night group that's from Puerto Rico. And she's a fairly new Christian, I believe. I haven't had a chance to really talk with her yet. And she's new to our group. And I asked her to pray, which may have been a mistake, but in retrospect, it worked out great. God was in it. Because she said to me in our little group, she says, I will pray, but I don't know how to pray. And I said, Erica, you know how to talk. I said, that's all you have to do is talk to God and tell him what we've been talking about. And she prayed, and it was beautiful, and it was from the heart. And afterwards she said, oh, I can pray. She was so excited, But as silly as that sounds, that was a really aha moment in a small group online where we were being real. And it was wonderful. It was really wonderful. And now John and I, my husband, we're going to Puerto Rico on October 22nd, and I'm going to get to have dinner with her and her husband. So I'm going to get to actually meet her. So I'm excited about that. So
wait, I'm sorry, she's not from Puerto Rico. She's in Puerto Rico.
She's in Puerto Rico. She came to our group through CF, through Agatha.
Who's in New York.
Was in New York. Okay. And Agatha, because she was in Agatha's group going back 2-3 years ago through CF, and Agatha reached out to her and invited us. Now, Agatha has since left our group. Her father died. She's had some traumatic things happen in her life. And, but I keep her on my every Friday email. I will never let Agatha go from me until she tells me to stop sending her emails. I send her the lessons every Friday.
So if you're keeping score at home, we've got Texas. She's leader in Miami, currently North Carolina with the podcast, but normally Miami. We've got Texas, we've got Ontario, Canada, and we've got Puerto Rico.
Right.
Like there's multiple countries, multiple time zones.
And 2 cities in Texas, right? Because even though we meet at 8:00 on Sunday night for Puerto Rico, that's it's a different time zone in Puerto Rico, but I forget what it is. I think it's an hour later. But then in Texas, in San Antonio, for Chesley and for Melissa, it's 7:00, even though it's 8:00. It's an hour earlier. So.
I mean,
anyway.
Where did you find these people? It's just kind of like networked. Agatha knew somebody.
Yes, and on Monday night, I have Lori, who is my niece, who is a fairly new Christian, who lives in Charlotte, North Carolina. And she's in my Monday night group and loving it with Janice, who is in your Tuesday night class.
Yes. Awesome. It's all just kind of coming together. So when you approach people and you ask like, hey, I want you to join my online small group, like what's their response? Like, you know, and some of these people, you know, you're seeing them in face-to-face, Janice, Lori.
Right. Well, the first thing older people ask me, will I know how to do it? You know, that's their first concern. And for younger folks, it's how much time do I have to put into it? You know, because time is, you know, king, I guess you could say, in the realm of the worldly sense. And, you know, I think when I tell them, hey, it's 1 hour a week and you don't even have to leave your house, you know, or your apartment or your home, wherever you are. If you've got the internet, you can join us online for 1 hour. You know, no travel time, no anything, you know, it's easy. And so, you know, a lot of people, you know, are willing to give it a shot. I have to tell you, if I had more time, I'd do a third class. You know, but, you know, I've only got so much time too. But it's easy. And we could take each of our groups, if everybody shows, it's just like two regular physical groups, whether you meet at a home or in a church. Sometimes people show up, sometimes there's conflict, they can't, you know, so forth, so on. So, you know, some nights on Sunday night, we'll have 7, sometimes we'll have 5. You know, on Monday night, it's a smaller group. You know, could I take another couple of folks in on Monday night? Yes. But, you know, finding them and getting them connected, I'm not sure exactly how all that goes down today. But I have to tell you, I truly believe people that are attending church that are not involved in a small group, if they really were introduced to online small groups, I think there could be a huge number of folks that could do it and enjoy it.
When you look at, because you've done both, you've led online, you've led physical, you've been involved in online, you've been involved in physical groups. So like, and you're of the generation that it has less credibility in context of online. So when you're doing this, like, what are the obstacles, and just completely transparent, honest here, what are the obstacles in context of online that you're like, man, online is suffering because of this? It's harder online because of this. Like, what are the challenges that you've had to overcome that maybe you don't have in physical? And then vice versa, what are the challenges of physical that are solved in online?
I think the obstacles are the same for a leader, and that is your dedication to study, okay, and content for, you know, how do you get the best use of your 30 minutes Bible study. I used to do some books earlier on. We used to do a topic study. I mean, we did the topic study of the 10 Commandments. We did a topic study of the Lord's Prayer. Now we're into just doing books of the Bible. We just finished Matthew. We started Matthew, believe it or not, in February, and we just finished it. You know, there's 28 chapters. I try to do a chapter a week. Some chapters in my little 30-minute have to go into 2 weeks because of the length of the chapter. But we have all decided, I took a survey of both my groups. Did they want to go back to a book or a topic, or did they want to go on to another chapter, another book of the Bible? And they all said, let's do another book of the Bible. And we've decided that September 8th and 9th, we're going to start the book of John. Okay. And that's what they all wanted to do, because they said that it for all these ladies, except for Janice. Janice has, as you know, is very learned and been in Bible studies for years and years and years. It's been a real eye-opener to them to study the whole book of Matthew verse by verse, chapter by chapter, verse by verse. And it's, for me, the challenge is I do an outline that goes to them every Friday with an email, giving them whatever news I can come up with for the week of what's been going on and all that. And anything I've heard about anybody that's in our group, sick, well, new babies, like, Janice is a great grandmother 5 times over or something. So anyway, we share all that news on, that we can through either text or emails, but then I give them an outline, and giving them an outline that proposes certain verses with questions for them to think about, and key verses that are in that section, those individual sections in those chapters. It takes a lot of work and takes a lot of, studying. And I've read more commentaries now on Matthew than I ever read in my life. So for me, it's been just, a real eye-opener into the book of Matthew that, it's been, even though I've been in church all my life, I'm learning things I'm remembering things, or maybe things are being easier for me to recall because I'm studying them at a deeper level.
Mm-hmm.
That's challenge number 1 for the leader. Challenge number 2 for the leader would be to really know that they have an accountability and a responsibility to love these ladies online, even though I'm not physically in the same room with them, and truly get to know them and love them as though I could put my arms around them. I mean, we have a lot of fun, and as much as one night, Chesley was eating some cereal, or she was eating something while she just gotten home from work, and she was having dinner while we were having class. And Lori says to Chesley, I can just smell those strawberries in that cereal. And we all just bursted out laughing because we were, Lori was trying to make it seemed like we were in the same room, together smelling these strawberries, even though it was online. It was fun. We really had a good time that night with a lot of different ways that we try to interact, even while we're studying God's word. And anyway, that's
beautiful. Loving people from a distance. How else has that been challenging in a way? That's where a lot of folks get that kind of mixed up as far as community in terms of online.
I think you could do a Bible study online where everybody was in the same city. They just don't have time to get to a small group location.
Sure.
I think they could be from all over the world and, be in that same online group. Obviously, if you had an online group that was meeting online every week, if I had a group that was just in Miami or down near Palmetto Bay where I live, I would probably try to once a quarter meet at a restaurant or meet in my home to see each other. That would seem to be okay. That would make sense. But when you are doing it where you have people all over, then you have to be creative, in learning how to, we have a group text that we're all in, and we send out happy birthdays. We send out, good luck on this, or, something they know somebody's going to do. And we all respond back and forth to it. And
those are the kind of things that even with quote unquote physical groups that take place like in person, you really start to know that you're really getting into community when jokes and when community is happening outside of the context of group, right?
Right.
When you don't quote unquote have to be in communication with one another. That's when the real friendship and stuff is bonding. And that's what everybody wants for their small groups.
I feel very connected to these ladies that I've never met. I feel as connected to them as I do the ladies that I've met.
That's good.
And I care about them and think about them and pray for them just the same.
Talk a lot more about their spiritual growth. I loved how you challenged one of them to pray, and that right there for some folks is amazing, because a lot of people would be, even a lot of small group leaders I've talked to in physical groups are afraid to call people out for any kind of spiritual step in their context. And so What are some more examples of that that
Well,
you've seen?
I have been working on getting them to think about starting their own online small group, even though
Awesome.
they can stay in mine. You know,
Right.
I'm trying to get them to think about coming up with a list of just 2 people, because I think 3 people can be the beginning of a small group, no problem. And and the reason why I believe that is there's been a couple of Sunday nights that there are only 3 of us that showed up, just like, you know, the others all had conflict. And when you have just 3 or 4 people online together, it's a much more intimate gathering, just as if you were in the home with just 3 or 4 people, because the larger a group gets, the more disconnected it gets from community of knowing people. And a lot of people aren't willing to speak up as much in a bigger group, where in a smaller group, they'll share at a deeper level. So I have my groups now are being challenged for beginning in September to come, not to actually have started the group, but they're each to bring 2 people's name that we're going to start praying for those folks before they even ask them to form a group. So I don't know if this is going to go anywhere, but I'm challenging them to do that. I think that this past year in Matthew, I think the idea that they all wanted to do another book of the Bible, verse by verse, versus some book, you know, from the bookstore,
Bookstores don't exist anymore.
I know, but it's an indication that they're spiritually, I believe they're growing. Because I think that it's a lot harder to sit down and get into the Bible, because there's so much of it. Even after I study it and read 3 commentaries, there's some stuff just still over my head. As a lay person of God's word, and there's many times I have to say to them, they'll ask me a question, and I have to say, I don't know. I said, you know, I could venture a guess, but far be it for me to lead you the wrong way. I won't answer it unless I'm certain of my answer.
Wow. I love this idea of duplicating, of challenging the groups to create other groups. And Ray and I, we talk a lot on the podcast, and Mom, I've had the conversations with you as well about this theory of church online. It's called online to offline. The gospel that we learn about in our online relationships affects our offline world, and using it to say, okay, I'm not just going to stay in this one group. I'm going to actually use it to go out and start to talk with people, with friends that I know, start to pray about inviting them into the group, into a relationship, to get them to understand more of God, to understand more of the gospel through it. And you doing the studies that you're doing, diving into scripture is such a awesome, rich way. Even the book of John, just that first study, to get people to understand the heart of the gospel and getting them to invite others in and enabling them. Okay, we've just gone through John. You know, maybe
Matthew. We just finished Matthew. We're starting
Matthew, but you're starting John. So as we're starting John, maybe this is your opportunity to do John for the next group. So the people that you're going through it, hey, as we're doing John, you do John as well with your group, because that's a great book for some new people to start off. I love, and this is kind of what I wanted to ask just here, like you've got people who have joined your study, Melissa as an example, who have been like through Christ Fellowship, the church, somebody catches an online broadcast, fills out a connection card, and we get them connected into a group. But the majority of your group isn't like crowdsourced through a church service. It's more, these are people that you know, like Barbara Chesley, Lori.
Yeah, right. And Lori, my niece, I knew that she has struggled in church and not really there. And I called her up and I invited her to give this a try. And she said, oh, I would love to. And she loves it. I mean, really, really loves it. And then I have Mary, you might know her, Ray. She It was a member of Christ Fellowship, and she just moved to Naples.
Yes.
But they're moving back. It didn't work out for them to stay in Naples.
Okay.
Brenda found us, who's in Ontario, Canada. She found us. I don't even totally understand how she found us, because I think she was listening to Christ Fellowship Palm Beach. Okay. And somehow or another, she called the church at Christ Fellowship Palmetto Bay and got connected to my group through that way. Because the first time because we always discussed, church, because my biggest encouragement to them is that they go to church, some church. And so that we talk about what church we went to, what message we heard, that's some of the way we fellowship. And Brenda says, and we were talking about, Rick Blackwood, and she goes, "Who's Rick Blackwood?" and I said, "Well, through Christ Fellowship." She goes, "No." And she said some other name who I don't remember what she said. Another pastor of Christ Fellowship up there. And then I remembered that there was another church, Christ Fellowship up north.
Yeah, we've probably benefited a little too unfairly from that cross branding, at least online. Yeah.
Right. So anyway, that's how we found her. But obviously, Debbie Brown is in my Sunday night class, and I've known her for many, many years, and she's wonderful, and she's got a lot of knowledge and a lot of background in Bible through BSF. So I encourage her to share her thinking on different verses and subjects, and it's just been really, really wonderful. I don't know how to explain it. I just say I get the biggest blessing out of it. I just love it.
I love this idea of you taking ownership of inviting people in. And part of what Ray and I have talked about is there's this personal mission of we know people who need Jesus. We know people who are struggling in their faith. We know people who need that community. And I love that you've reached out to the people that you have to make this group, and that Christ Fellowship through Church Online is really empowering you at the personal mission to develop discipleship relationships with these people, take them through the scripture and to dive in. So like this is awesome. I love what's happening here with this. So keep going with that. Here's the question, and we'll land the plane on this. Somebody wants to start a group. Somebody's not sure if they want to start a group. How can you advise them? What advice can you give them to start an online small group?
That they just pray about it first, and then allow God to put two people into their mind, maybe a family member or a friend, and start that way. And it's as simple as that.
That's so good.
That's what, if you have anybody that's thinking about it, have them call me. They will definitely want to do it after they talk to me.
Okay, so I'm not going to give my mom's cell phone number on the show notes. So
I kind of want you to now so that we can start more Christ Fellowship online small groups. So go ahead and call 305-238-1818. Ask for Radio Artemis, and I'll get you with Linda Reed, and we'll work this out.
Get them in touch with me. That's fine.
There you go.
There you go.
I like that so much better than the other option. So well done. Man, Ray, thoughts as we're landing the plane here?
I mean, Linda nailed every part of it. And she loves the people in her group, and she loves Jesus, and all this kind of works together to help lead them in the right steps of discipleship, which is what it's all about. The medium doesn't matter as much as the fact that she's living out the mission. And that's what's most important. So great job, Linda.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mom, any closing thoughts?
Well, just that if somebody would have asked me before I retired 3 years ago, I would be doing online Bible studies, I would have said, no, not possible. But let me tell you, you just have to get in there and do it. If you've got a laptop or a computer, it's easy as can be. And the Zoom product is, from me, the best. We used to have another product before we went to Zoom. Do you remember what it was, Jeff?
Yes, and I'm not going to say the name.
Oh, okay.
That's okay. I'm hoping we get sponsored by Zoom here. This is good.
That's okay. Because Zoom is really easy to use. And I think it's, it's great the way it works, the way they can sign in, and the way you set up the meetings. Every aspect of it is great and easy, very easy, because I can't even get this Bluetooth thing to work. So
Perfect.
You can take that part out, Jeff.
No, I want Linda to get all the Zoom sponsorships too. Zoom, if you're out there, write Linda Reed a check right now. It'd be amazing.
That was awesome. I can remember 3 years ago, sitting in my office. Okay, should I ask my mom to start an online small group? What's the best that can happen? What's the worst that can happen? What would this look like? I've got this need. And it was all centered around that Melissa relationship, because there were 2 or 3 of these young professionals that were starting to crop up. And it's like, what's the best way to do something here? And that was, that initial conversation to help reach that type of person. And I got to tell you, I love the fact that I did 3 years later, that you've developed the relationships you have with these people, that you've been able to, and I don't mean to be rude when I say this, but you've been able to extend your ministry life, where you've been able to do things in ministry through online that, you may not be able to do if you were existing in the physical realm, because you travel so much and you're doing so many different things that physical
ministry you can take with you.
Yes.
Right. But let me go ahead and comment on that, though, because Linda, this is what I love about it, and something that I've practiced, with folks who are a stage of life behind, and something that I've had the benefit of having folks who are a stage of life ahead. And if you're here listening and you're anywhere in life, I just want to encourage you. Number one, you don't know who you can develop that's a step behind you. And number two, you don't know the kind of development that you need from a person who's a step ahead. Because I'm telling you now, from everything from parenting to marriage life to work life, having folks in my life who are 2 or 3 steps ahead of me has been the treasure trove of my life, where I've avoided a lot of pitfalls, and where the Lord has allowed me to do the same for somebody who's in college or just newly married or whatever else, just a step behind. I don't have to, you don't have to have everything. Just be willing to give what you know. And that is so powerful in discipleship.
Yes, very much so. I have one, just real quick, and I'll close. I have one of the ladies I didn't mention Sunday night, Jill. She lives in Homestead. Her husband's in the military, and they're getting ready to transfer to, he actually has a PhD, and he's going to work for the University of Michigan. And they're moving, and she was sharing Sunday night how excited she is that she'll be able to take her small group with her.
Oh, that's awesome.
To Michigan, so we're all excited about hearing all about what God has in store for her in Michigan after, she came to Miami from Ohio, not wanting to come, afraid to come, with 2 small babies and her husband in military. It's been wonderful. And she and I have grown to really, trust each other and love each other. And now she's going to Michigan, and she's excited both to go to Michigan and take our group together, take our group with her.
Yeah. And then that's the heart of church online and online relationships, is that, you've got this biblical community, you've got this group of people, and you have the opportunity to continue those relationships on. And this is awesome. Man, this has been a great birthday gift, and I appreciate the time of this and the wisdom. It's
really the cheapest birthday gift I ever got away with.
Yeah, we'll let that fly. There was a lot worse you could have said in this podcast, so we're gonna walk away. I'm gonna count my blessings, and thank you for that.
All right.
For Ray, for Linda, I'm Jeff with the Church Digital. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for being here.
Bye.